and people just kind of seem to be standing back and not ready to move on it. And so that's the purpose of our being here this morning. Republicans in the Senate believe that we have a plan that either could be the plan or a part of the final plan, and we'd like to talk with you about that this morning. We believe that our plan is fiscally responsible and that it balances the need. We feel very, very comfortable about the fact that we do have a need in Iowa to do something with our infrastructure, with our roads and bridges. And we think our plan balances that piece along with fiscally responsible governing, and that is that we're not dumping new taxes and new fees on the back of Iowa families. We continue on a day-to-day basis see indicators that our economy could be on a downward trend, and certainly we think that what we do leading into that, assuming that all those indicators are correct, leading into that we need to be responsible and not dump additional responsibilities on the back of Iowa's families. It's a time to be responsible, limit our spending, and not increase taxes and fees on the back of Iowa's families. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to Senator Seymour, and Senator Seymour would like to talk about a few points on our plan.
Good morning. Roads and bridges are a priority in Western Iowa. My district, most of my meetings deal with this issue pretty much on the top of the page. I've been conflicted with raising taxes and some of the points that Senator Wick talked about. This plan makes a lot of sense. Responsible budgeting requires discipline and prioritization. I think this will fit the bill. We will not raise taxes on the people of Iowa, and yet we can address the bridges and the roads that are important to our economy. Thank you.
Senator Kerry.
Morning, ladies and gentlemen. Clearly, Iowans have set a priority for roads and safe bridges in the state of Iowa. Clearly, the legislature has not responded. The governor has not responded. In the infrastructure budget, in the transportation budget, in the general fund budget, there is approximately $7.5 billion. That money does not go, has not been prioritized for this additional money for transportation. So our plan will take $90 million that's being transferred in the governor's budget to the general fund. It will take that money and put it to roads and bridges in Iowa. It will require that any excess general fund monies that are there after the reserve funds have been filled will spill over into a new bucket that will go into the highway infrastructure of Iowa. And to make sure there's money there to do that, we would propose that the 99% spending limitation be reduced over time from 90 to 98.5 and then down to 98%, so that there is monies in the future that will go into and support the extra money that the Time 21 study has requested. So that's a summary of the plan, and thank you very much.
Any questions?
It seems like you're moving from a user system, and they seem typically the way the roads were funded now is by users, whether it be gas tax, whether it be sales tax on vehicles, and sort of if you use the road, you're going to have to help pay for them. This moves away from that, doesn't it?
This, I believe, addresses the issue on where we stand today in the state of Iowa. And what we're talking about is doing responsible spending. We obviously did not see that last year, 2007, with the built-ins from 2007 to 2008. The budget was increased by over $1 billion. And we believe that this is responsible spending. We continue to talk about and we continue to hear on a national basis and even on a statewide basis about the downward trend in the economy, and increasing taxes on Iowans right now is not the right thing to do. We all can go back to the income tax cut of 1997. I like to always go back to that. I think it was a Iowa. People talked about the fact that the state would not be able to meet its demands, the state would not be able to meet the responsibilities that the state should meet when that happened. And we all know that in the last decade, we collected over $440 million worth of additional personal income tax in the state of Iowa over what we collected the decade before. And so I think that speaks a lot to what we're talking about, and that is that in a time where we believe that we're going to see a downward trend in the economy, it's not the right time to be dumping more taxes and fees on the back of Iowans.
Senator Putney has introduced a bill that would try to bring equity to the pickup fee issue. It's not part of your plan. Is your caucus not signing off on that idea?
That's not our proposal for today. Our proposal for today is to bring new ideas to the table. We don't see things moving forward. We think we need to move forward on this issue. And what Senate Republicans are trying to do today is bring new issues to the table that should be a part of the conversation. It's not our goal to say this is the limit of it, but we do support not raising fees and taxes on the back of Iowans if we possibly can do that.
Well, when you say your plan for today, does that mean this is going to be a moving target as the session progresses?
I don't think the target's moved at all up to this point. I mean, there's just been a lot of conversation behind the scenes about what should or shouldn't happen, and no one's moving forward on it. So we want to push the issue, and we think we need to move forward on this serious infrastructure problem.
The governor has proposed this $90 million gambling tax to the general fund, and then I believe that money probably is spent if you go this route. You're just saying the budget has to be cut that amount, or is there some place where you think spending programs that could go by the wayside and make room for that?
We think that the governor needs to sit down and look at the budget as it was proposed, and we think there are a number of changes that ought to be in the budget. And we're talking about doing something with our infrastructure. We're talking about doing something with the stimulus package. So I've asked the governor to take a look at the budget and sit down and work with us so that we can do some of the things. It's a matter of priorities, and we need to reevaluate that.
If you divert $90 million, what programs wouldn't get money?
You know, that's part of what we have to stop and look at. And whether or not we'll be included in that discussion, I would hope that we would be, but that's something that we have to look at. We have to look at the individual pieces.
You know, my reaction to the diversion is we're not diverting the money. This is infrastructure money. The diversion is to the general fund. I think Iowans clearly expect this money to go to infrastructure. We're just saying, let's include the roads and bridges of Iowa in these infrastructure dollars and not send it to the general fund. So I think the diversion took place earlier. I think that maybe we're expanding the definition of infrastructure a little bit, but we're still driving it to infrastructure, and I think that's where gambling dollars ought to go. They shouldn't be put into the general fund to the tune of $150 million. We've already got 60 there. The governor's proposed to divert the 90. We're saying let's just leave it in infrastructure. Maybe we're going to expand the definition a little bit.
Senator, when you were on the interim committee, and there were a lot of ideas floated. There were none in that committee that you supported then, because you're now, I mean, none of them are in this, including Senator Putney's.
As you know, the interim committee met, and we called on the governor to respond to a number of proposals that had been put forward, and the governor said very clearly at that point in time that he would not support a gas tax increase. The committee did not come to any conclusion on other options or other alternatives to raising $200 million. So what this plan does is put forward an option that we believe could work. And it prioritizes bridges and roads above other things. And we believe that's the right thing to do right now.
Will this raise $200 million a year?
It will potentially over time. Because as revenue grows and the spending limitation is reduced, more money will go into this funding source. It won't raise it immediately. It will take time.
Is your position today that you're not going to support fee or tax increases for